Welcome back to another episode of It's All Been Checked Before. This time, we're going to this side of paradise. Not that side, not your side. This side of paradise. It's a bucolic episode for a while, but don't get too comfortable there because there's other stuff to check out here on the IABD Presents network, like the good, the bad, and the geeky. Nick Argenbright and company have been doing it for a long time, and they're still doing it. Whatever the latest big movie out is that's geeky, they're going to break it down. And they're going to tell you what's coming up next. And get into anything else geeky. The good, the bad, the geeky. Part of the IABD Presents network, IABDpresents.com. Also, hey, why don't you check out the IABD shop? Get some of that swag. Scripts. Signed scripts. Buttons. T-shirts. By the time this comes out, who knows? Maybe trunks. Swim season. Whatever you may need, go check it out. Get that IABD stuff on you. It'll look good on you. I gotta tell you. Just like this side of paradise looks good on Spock. You'll know what I mean after you listen to the gang talk about it on It's All Been Checked Before.
Welcome to another episode of It's All Been Checked Before. We're going to talk about the phenomenal episode, This Side of Paradise. Man, that show was great.
It was important for me to see it, I think, because it was my After Dark screensaver that I used to, see anyway.
Mm. Yeah, my overall impression was it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be, as I remembered it.
As I remembered it.
Yeah, I mean, I can remember seeing it initially and thinking, oh, it was okay, and then over the years, whenever I think of it, it's like, and it still wasn't great by any means, but I didn't detest it.
It was one of the first episodes of the show I saw.
Mm-hmm. I think it was for me too.
I don't think I ever rewatched it.
Yeah.
And that initial impression was, oh, this is a fun episode. And then I'm watching it now, and I'm like, oh, God. What did I mean, I know I was a kid, but God.
Yeah, and we'll get into them deeper, but I feel like there's some really good elements and yes, character things they hit, but I wish there was another way they could have hit them. It's almost, I was thinking early on, it's one of those things that makes series television a little trickier, especially in a thing like this where you want to make each show really good, but at some point in these shows you gotta start those arcs, arcs for the overriding arcs or whatever, and so you gotta have some exposition and learn more about the characters and that kind of stuff. So I thought there's some cool things in that way, but overall I wish they could have done them in a different episode or a different way.
I think they should have doubled down on comedy on this one.
What's that?
I think trying to make it a serious story was a failure.
Well, and I shouldn't say I like the serious story. There are some of the elements, and like I said, we'll get into those. But yeah, I'm with you. The comedic elements in this are hilarious.
Yeah.
Because Shore Leave was more of the...
Shore Leave was a very similar concept in that it was like an idyllic place they beamed down, and it was a lighter episode. But Shore Leave was so much more whimsical and interesting.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Whereas this, they tried to do a story, and this was all like, okay, we're gonna make you join a cult and brainwash you.
Yeah, there was that element too.
But I think what's most memorable for most people about this episode is Spock actually being happy.
Yeah, Spock gets to be happy because of the spores, which I couldn't remember until they finally got into it. What the spores were and how they took over and all that, and I feel like they found an easy way out, which is fine.
Yeah.
Way too easy. We had Hero Kirk again, somehow being better than everybody else.
Right.
Apparently his little Icarus medal ticked him off enough to... I don't know.
Are we? Yeah, or is it too late to get, or too early to get into that? Because I have a question. So my question about that. So, was that your take on that? Was it that I thought my first thought, which is probably wrong, was that he literally couldn't figure out how to beam himself down and got angry about it. He's like, I can't do it. He got angry. He's like, wait, I burned the spores out.
That would have been better.
That would have been better. I think at that point he would just got a shuttle.
It was still more of the I love this ship and all that, and myself.
Yeah.
Kind of
which is...
Get out of my brain!
Which is kind of unrealistic in a way, in my opinion, because that shouldn't be possible to get angry about that if you're that, under the influence.
Thing that I thought once they figured out the spores thing was the thing I've heard and I've talked about before about, so, we've all seen hypnotists, and some people can actually get hypnotized, but some people, they say if you're like, I want to be hypnotized, you can get hypnotized. If you're like, I will never be hypnotized, you probably won't be hypnotized. You have to have some kind of susceptibility or willingness to it. Similar thing is, and this is just my theory, but it's been borne out during my research, is, if somebody's like, man, I'm going out tonight, I'm getting messed up, I'm going to get so drunk. Half a drink in, they can be whoop-a-doo, it's a party. Whereas somebody else who's not that susceptible. So I felt like part of maybe it was implied in the episode, part of it I think was, and it doesn't work perfectly because it's all the entire crew in it, but people wanting to be that way. And I think it also led for Spock and for Layla, especially. I think it heightened certain things I wanted, kind of like Naked Time, kind of that drunken thing. It was a different kind of buzz.
Time aspects in here too.
Different kind of buzz, but yeah.
So are you saying that Spock wanted to be happy and?
Yeah, so I think the thing is Kirk. I think Kirk isn't as susceptible because he's Kirk and blah blah blah, and he loves the ship and what he does, and he's some starship captain kind of stuff.
And that is what makes him happy. No, I think Spock. Some part of Spock always wants to be happy. When we get into Spock deeply as a character, I think some of his rejection of his human side and his embracing of logic is he always felt his father was disappointed in him for not being fully Vulcan. And so I feel like he was never a happy child, and he sought to be happy by embracing his father's worldview. Even though his father was the type of Vulcan that saw fit to marry a human woman, which is not common.
Right.
So there's layers to his father, too. And their relationship, I know a lot of father-son relationships are in drama, whatever, but I find Spock and Sarah's relationship very interesting overall. He's only going to be in one episode of the original series, but he'll be in most of the movies.
Yes. I like the line about the rainbow, that he could tell you how it's formed, but, it's never made him happy and that stuff.
Yeah.
I know you hated the line at the end about the purgatory or whatever.
Yeah, I thought that was dumb.
I
like a lot of dumb lines.
Yeah, there are a lot of those. I actually like that to get into him and Layla. I wish there'd been more about their past, a little bit more, to make me embrace it more and more know about why she was so in love with him.
It's fun for me to come at it from this direction now, from the opposite direction that I'd seen it before, because I'm getting to discover when they start to nail down certain things in canon, and it's still pretty fast and loose right now.
Yeah.
There's lots of things.
And we're almost done with season 1.
Yeah, which is like what
a third of the way through the show.
I'm wondering, like, okay, we're getting this far along. When are they going to make up their minds and say that? Really?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, season 2 is relatively consistent, but I'd say the movies, it's much clearer who everybody is and what they are. Yeah,
that's
the rules for certain things.
Yes,
season 2 develops some more of it. Season 3, you have a couple points, but not a lot.
Yeah, season 3 is kind of
a lot of season 3 is like this episode to me, except with none of the character development.
So for instance, I have a very vague understanding of Pon farr. And she says that she met him 6 years ago. Which is eventually so.
Well, Pon farr is still like a year away on the series. Yeah. But they made a point that he wouldn't even embrace her, so clearly she was not his Pon farr partner.
Yeah, and so it's an unrequited love, and everyone we can all relate to that part of it, I guess. Because I still find her breakdown it's well acted, and I think it touched me. It's touching. So from that aspect, you can get it. I wish we'd known. Didn't need to know a lot more about the relationship. I wish we'd gotten more into their past relationship or why they could bond, rather than getting into some of these other elements in the series or in the show that weren't that interesting.
So that Layla was played by Jill Ireland, who is most famous for Death Wish 2, which is funny because we were just talking about Death Wish.
She was Chuck Bronson's wife.
That's probably the link.
Yeah.
The Mechanic, Hard Times, Chino. She only has 54 credits, and Death Wish was one of her last ones. She hasn't been active since the 80s. Even though, she died in 1990 at age 54.
Yeah.
She died young.
Yeah.
But I feel like that name sounds familiar.
Sounds like Kathy Ireland, which is... what's her name?
Jill Ireland.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's been there's like a model Ireland. I think there was a DJ.
They had the soft focus on her in the love theme from the get-go. And those blue eyes, she's beautiful.
She was married to Charles Bronson.
Yeah,
you said that.
Oh,
you said that. That's why we were talking about Charles Bronson.
Yeah, so but yeah, I mean, I thought she was fine. And the weird part is she's a scientist, but then we don't get to appreciate her as a scientist at any point, really.
We almost, now that I'm thinking about it, I almost wanted to go back and see, without the effects, what her eyes looked like.
Oh.
Like, just from that, she looked like was almost like a doll or something. Just the way that she would hold those looks, and the eyes looked almost plastic. Just
I don't think the eyes were any different.
Yeah.
I think the planet was pretty much all they changed on this one. The planet and the space stuff. Again, a planet that didn't look at all habitable.
No, but in the old effects.
In the old effects. In the new one,
from orbit, at least.
it looked pretty poisonous.
What was the Spock line we all laughed about? I've never understood the.
Oh God, yeah, it was. I'll never understand the female capacity to avoid answering any direct question.
Yeah, so.
And then the next scene, a male doesn't answer the question.
Yeah.
That's my alternate episode is Spock's stand-up routine, where he's like, "Let me tell you about women."
Well, let me tell you.
You want to know something else about women? It's it's his hack stand-up comedy routine.
No, the bizarre thing about that though was that he wasn't infected yet. This is his Vulcan perception of things. It's like, what? Come on.
To be fair, it was logical. No, it was not logical. It made no sense.
I had so many problems with this episode, starting with the settlement itself. So, they looked up to the planet. They found out this planet's not habitable, but the people still went there anyway. Then they beam down to what looks like a fully built society with roads and fences and things. But then, we're told with the spores, they really don't have any ambition and drive. So you'd really expect them to be living in very simple huts and just have the basics.
Right.
Yeah.
It looks like it's the same plan from this side of paradise when they were out in the woods.
Well, and it's weird that I kept being, and it's always weird when the Enterprise.
Shore leave. Yes.
It's always weird when the Enterprise guys are in a place that looks like a regular house.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't why does the settlement, just because it's a farm, have to look like a farm in 1960 and not a farm in
not a new farm?
future? Yeah.
Well, and there was
That's funny.
a runner board midway up the wall.
Yeah.
Which you wouldn't normally do unless there's a different wall on the top and the bottom. And so again, I'm like, so they built a fancier house and then repainted and simplified it? It just doesn't make sense.
I like the whole "there's no animals here" angle of the episode. Was that just because they didn't want to have animals?
Could be. I think they were trying to play up the toxicity of it.
That's true too.
Or maybe they were talking about how this is truly the idyllic world. And
where they don't even need animals.
Well, yeah, because a lot of people might see no killing, no death if these people were...
Elias Sandoval, he answers the whole question like, we're vegetarian. We're better than you. No.
No, that would benefit their vegans who bicycle.
Oh, you're right.
Elias Sandoval, played by Frank Overton, who he's most famous for To Kill a Mockingbird. He played Sheriff Heck Tate.
Oh, he's in Failsafe also.
Yeah, he's got 82 credits.
All right.
But Failsafe, 12 O'Clock High, Wild River. He died in 1967, so this right after this episode aired.
Jeez.
Only 49 years old.
Wow.
Before that, he did a couple episodes of Bonanza, The Virginian. 61 episodes, 12 O'Clock High. Talking about things that didn't work for me. First of all, Kirk overcoming the spores through sheer will is stupid, and it's such a Kirk thing to do in this. But then he's like, now I'm going to do something very dangerous. I'm going to bring up Spock, who has superhuman strength. I'm like, there's nobody else in the crew you can bring up. Or, if you need Spock's technical expertise, which is a valid point.
Yeah, that's fair.
Can't you bring up 20 security officers first?
Yeah.
Or, I mean, this is risk all or nothing. There are safer ways to go about it.
And if there's one other person that knows the ship and you can get your communications or anything, get Scotty.
Yeah.
Or Uhura.
Or her, yeah.
You can't tell me Uhura's going to beat up Kirk.
No. I'm sure he can make her mad, because I feel like he makes her mad every day.
Okay. Well, I was gonna
He just kiss her and she'll go off and slap him.
I will say this about Uhura, her one brief real scene. She could have talked me into the spore life. I was ready to beam down with her. As soon as she got in the elevator, I'd be like, hold it. I'll take the elevator with you.
That was pretty good, actually.
The plant that somehow crawled up to the bridge, though, and then, really jumped up in the screen.
Yeah, because...
And then went, feed me!
And when they keep... The more they talk about the sport, it's like, oh, okay, because they're they traveled across the galaxy or whatever here. So how that worked, I don't know. How they travel through space and live. Did they maybe fly a ship?
They're space spores.
Yeah.
No, I thought the spores were...
native.
Native to the planet.
Oh, was that the deal?
I thought
they said they traveled there.
I don't know, but Sulu at one point says there were native planets, or that guy was checking out native planets. There are native plants.
Well,
planets.
I think they thought they were native plants, but then somebody else I thought said the spores traveled there.
I can't see.
I don't know.
Maybe I think they. I thought they were talking about the colony themselves having traveled there.
Oh.
Well, whatever. What was I going to say?
Still doesn't work.
There's something else that puzzled me. But all right, so the mechanism. So we saw the 3 puffs of spores at Kirk, Sulu, and Blue Shirt.
Yeah.
But Kirk's wasn't aimed correctly.
Yeah, so he looked. I guess he was clean of spores.
Yes.
They came away with that at least, but that was still misleading to me at the time because even Kirk thought that he was somehow immune when he got to the ship. He was talking about it because.
Yeah, I mean, I had to back it up and watch when you said I saw 3 shoots because to me I was like, oh, Kirk didn't get sprayed, but yeah, it definitely tried to spray him.
Why didn't Kirk just shoot the spores right then? And then take him back up to the ship.
Oh, I want to know why he wasn't walking around with one of those breathing masks to avoid getting infected.
And tell everybody else not to do it.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Lots of things like that.
Well, and didn't he say that they put the spores through the ventilation system to infect everybody?
Did they?
I thought that's what he said. And so...
Because they had beamed up to 100 plants, so it could have gotten the ventilation.
So, but then that wasn't happening to him. He had to get hit directly and then, of course, resist it.
Well, it seems like everybody was getting, somehow getting... Well, I mean, that would have been a lot more effective, or the ventilation would have made a lot more sense to get everybody in the ship rather than having to find individual...
Yeah.
But unaffected until, again...
And I kind of like the scenes of Kirk on the bridge alone. I just wish, again, there was a different framing device for him to be... Because it was the mildest mutiny of all time.
Yep.
And then...
Grabbed Eddie Paskey.
Yeah.
Who is in all those episodes uncredited.
And then he's... His moments of being alone on the ship. But I feel like there are other episodes where he feels alone with having to make the decisions that all these crewmen weigh on him, as opposed to what happened here.
So, all joking aside about the beaming down thing, I was confused as to how he was going to manage to beam himself down with the way they were doing it. And
I mean, we've seen them in Star Trek beam with nobody at the panel, so there's got to be a timer. I mean, if you could set that on a camera in 1980,
that's what I was going to say.
I think you could set it on the transporter in 23rd century.
Well, I feel like they had a better handle on how to think those things through by like Next Generation, but we actually seen them do it in this series.
I know we see them do it in the movies.
That's what I was thinking.
Because they definitely do it in Star Trek 3.
Yeah. And I feel like it has to be a mechanism that it won't energize until you're actually fully there.
Right.
Otherwise, there'd be all
that
kinds
would be
of...
bad.
Because we know how those timed photos always worked.
When do they have to have their arms and legs inside the little circle too? Or, I don't know. I feel like they by the time Next Generation came out, they were just beaming everybody from any point, anywhere.
Right. Yeah, they perfected it. And this turned into another medical examination mission.
Yeah.
More or less.
Except they didn't actually go through the medical thing, because McCoy didn't really look into it at all.
They did,
no medical part to the solution.
Yeah. But he did examine all the people, but...
It was interesting that, like the Naked Time, they were in orbit of a planet. But unlike the Naked Time, where the ship was going to crash in a few hours... Kirk's like, oh, it's fine for months. So maybe in between the episodes, Scotty upgrade the system.
Yeah.
He's like, Scotty, we got to do something. This is gonna happen again. Yeah. Fix the vulnerability.
Maybe there's something about the Naked Time that maybe they didn't.
That planet had a stronger gravitational pull.
It could. I mean, there's lots of explanations you could come up with that would explain it, I guess. But or at least 2 or 3. At least several.
At least several.
Yeah.
Naked Time. I'm thinking Enemy Within. Sorry. So Naked Time, that planet was freezing.
Oh, there's the medical thing. I feel like their first, just one of the notes I made was I didn't agree with Kirk's strategy at the beginning when he was just like, okay, my orders are to take you all now. Let's go. I'm going to insist on doing this. His first reaction should have been when they saw people alive was let's get back to the ship and think this through for a minute. Let's contact the space station and say, hey, what should we do now?
I mean, he knew something wasn't right.
But it shouldn't have been like, let's take everybody right now, let's fight them on it. Let's just... My orders would probably change if they knew what was happening. Let's maybe bring some more medical crew in from other places. Let's convince one person to go back and study them.
There was a lot of music in this episode.
There
Yes.
was, but it was a lot of those same
love
themes
theme
they always
and,
do.
yeah.
Ruth's theme, I think they call it.
That's it, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I call it the love theme, but yeah.
That's why I was like, oh my god, that theme when we first came up in the series.
You remembered it from the screensaver.
Yes.
And just in
Nice.
case you weren't sure that they were feeling feelings of love.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, McCoy in this episode was kind of weird. The southern draw.
Yeah.
Like, so exaggerated.
I don't know. I guess had they established that he was Southern or something
Yes,
before
but,
this?
Yeah.
but that doesn't really necessarily excuse this.
Oh, it's like you get drunk and you turn your accent and all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a version of drunk, but it does, I don't know why the spores would make you.
Right.
I guess
He was happier back in Georgia.
Yeah,
I
they turned
suppose.
Layla into
You notice that even though they had their
Fresh.
animals, they still built a horse barn.
yeah.
There was still the implication that they were somehow regressing because they were growing back things that they had like the tonsils or whatever maybe.
So he grew his
Oh, yeah.
accent back.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, like it made him younger, and when he was younger, he I don't know.
Well, I guess the spores were hitting everything in the brain, so maybe they were utilizing it better than simply for Kirk.
Or maybe it was carefree, so we didn't have to try not to have the accent or something.
Kirk's,
It's a tough, yeah.
They had to do it somehow, but that was a very lazy way to do it.
It was very lazy. Why couldn't he
And
just
rather he
figured
figured
out it was
out-
the flower and then cover his mouth?
I mean, he knew it was the flower.
Right.
Yeah.
We didn't need to have Shatner fight it psychologically.
No.
Yeah.
That was Shatner going, I need to fight it psychologically. So I can get special light.
Do you think that he pushed for that?
Oh, I bet. Either that or DC wrote it for him because, yeah.
I do.
Because he seduced her into it.
No,
He gave her
but-
one of the small.
No, but she would have known what he would have pushed for anyway.
Yeah.
I do enjoy once they do is it the subsonic sound? Is that what they do to?
Yes.
Yeah.
Just angers them.
When
That was pretty
Sulu
cool.
and his buddy started brawling, I'd forgotten about that scene, and then when it started, I just remember
That's
me and my
what
brother
yeah.
laughing like crazy. And I just made me start laughing even before they started swinging. I just started laughing because I knew it.
Went right into a scene with another Asian guy in a yellow shirt fighting somebody.
Yes. The only thing that was funnier than those two brawls was the brawl between Shatner's stunt double and Spock's stunt double.
Just because they look nothing like them
Oh,
again.
it was so
Stunt
great.
doubles.
I always miss it somehow. I'm not really paying attention to their faces or anything. It's just sort of.
Well, and
That's all I can look at fight scenes now.
And I thought in A Taste for Armageddon, actually Shatner did a lot of his in that one, but in this one it was
No.
one of those ridiculous
And the
ones.
Spock makeup on the Spock was not.
Oh, it
Spock.
looked like
I'm
he
always-
was Frankenstein's monster or something.
Yeah.
It was ridiculous.
I was almost distracted by the choreography itself, like just the
Oh, we've
yeah.
already seen all that. It's the same every time.
chop through the bar.
And then double hand hit the bag.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. No, they do the same fights all the time.
We saw.
Lift chair, fade out.
Yeah.
Reminds me of a couple of things. Well, from like a couple episodes past, like the most recent one, we saw Kirk actually throw like an actual jab,
Yeah.
punch, and then I remember Khan. I didn't observe, I don't think, on the podcast itself that I guess during his studies he learned Trek Fu. He
Yes.
came out instead of doing chops and handles.
I will say, following Kirk and Spock's fight, Spock's comment about well, I should be court-martial and Kirk well, who's going to build the subside?
Yeah.
I enjoyed that bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was
Especially when Spock says, that is logical.
That's logical. Yeah.
So why would did Kirk actually engage in some violence to him as well? I guess he implied that both of them would be in the brig.
Well, yeah, he hit Spock back.
All right.
Yeah.
And Spock didn't say striking a superior officer. He just said striking a
Yes.
fellow officer.
When they first beam down and they're trying to figure out, and Sulu has the theory that maybe they're not even there at all,
Yeah.
they ignore it. They don't even,
That's
they don't
funny.
even address it.
Well, McCoy's like, was his blood warm? Was his hand warm? He's real. Can you take your scanner out?
Another great-
real quick.
Another great McCoy diagnosis. Well, they might have a little frostbite, but they'll be fine. It was 120 degrees below zero.
Well, he was shaking Kirk's hand. And when the guy shook Kirk's hand, and McCoy goes, his blood's warm, and just keeps going on without ever, asking Kirk, was his blood warm? He just, Kirk would have reacted if it wasn't. I'm a simple country doctor.
And then I can't remember who said they have it might have been Sandoval said they have a simple life. No phones, no lights. I thought he was going to go into the Gilligan's
No motor
Island.
cars?
That's where I thought he was going to go into the Gilligan's Island. That's where I thought he was going to go.
No hover cars?
Would have been something great. That would have,
All
I
the
was like,
luxuries.
it's got to be.
Unlike
I really wanted him to keep going. He
Gilligan's
didn't.
Island, yeah.
It was a great.
Gilligan's Island stole it. Somebody was watching this episode and go, I can continue this.
But all I could think of was Universe Journey.
Yeah. Why?
Well, and
we
Gilligan's
stole from
Island.
Gilligan's Island?
Well, yeah, exactly.
We did? I think Gilligan's Island stole from us.
That's possible. That's possible.
Let's have Nick's wife watch Gilligan's Island and go, wait a second, they still left Universe Journey. If they make a new Gilligan's Island.
I think that's mostly. And there are a lot of blondes to start this episode.
There were.
Yeah.
I mean, besides Lila Kalomi, which all I kept thinking was Sheila Alcamini from the league. But the Sheba.
Yeah.
Sheba. But yeah, there were a couple on the bridge early on. And it was the same blondes in the transporter room later.
Yeah. They.
Continuity.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm noticing more and more women on the bridge these days.
They are. They're getting a little more multicultural.
On these new viewings.
We had a lot of different diversity in this episode.
Yeah. Even the cult was diverse.
That was such a cult. Like you're part of the body, you're giving over to us. It was just cult, plain and simple. There's no other.
And I couldn't tell you how big the Moonies or Scientology or any of that was in the 60s. But this is before you got into the hippie Manson stuff. Or right before.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it was a weird... It seemed like we could have got to the spores and the trippiness, like figuring it out earlier.
I hadn't thought of that before, but that would probably be also... They probably were very amused with themselves about the vegetarian line because of that. They were probably like, oh, we're really, ha ha ha.
That's something cults do. In the communes they live on.
Yeah, oh, you're right, yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
And, the great line where Kirk's like, we should stick at pairs. And then he leaves McCoy so they're both by themselves. And then both of the other officers that are sane go with Kirk, so McCoy's left alone. And they didn't follow up on that. Like, I wanted McCoy to then get hit immediately by spores, but they didn't show that scene.
Right.
It was just...
It was like the classic horror movie thing, like, we gotta stick together.
Yeah.
And then immediately they...
And to be fair, Spock, once he was back to being logical, should not have beamed Layla up, because that was not logical to beam her up and have that confrontation.
Well, and I thought that was...
It was kind, it wasn't logical.
Right. And to me, I thought that spoke to... He was still not dealing with the spores, but he had got in touch with his human side in a way that he doesn't usually.
Well,
so he felt like he had to at least do that, but then once he got confronted with her, for lack of a better, maybe he was being cruel to be kind, although I don't think he was going about it logically.
Well, he
doesn't know what he was doing. Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, there is that important part of the characterization later. Humanity seeping through, but also he acknowledged that it was the happiest he'd ever been. I think maybe he, even if you want to frame it logically, he could have thought that he owed her that because of that, and needed to bring her up and maybe get some sort of closure from that. And
now you liked that, or you did not like the way they dropped that "happiest ever been" line.
I'm coming around on the idea that it seemed odd to me that something that what I would think would be significant to the character, but maybe by then, maybe that early it wasn't to them. They didn't really think of it that way as the writers, or...
I think it was significant. I just don't think it would have been in character for Spock to make a big deal out of it.
Yeah, and I think as watching it, I couldn't tell. I thought it was going to get one of those jokey endings, and then I remembered as Kirk delivers that line, I'm like, oh, I know it. I remember what Spock says. Yeah. Well, and I thought it was nice. Again, this was not a great episode, but that was another nice moment of, and speaking of season 3, there are a lot of those little nice moments like this, but this is, I shouldn't say a lot, there are some within all the dreck. I'm really selling everyone on season 3, but I thought that last moment was a little bit poignant. I think it's nice to leave it hanging. I don't need to hear with a response, and I feel like nobody else will respond to it. Well, that's all that needed to be said.
It's not so much that I thought that Spock wasn't making a big enough deal about it. It felt like the production wasn't making a big enough deal out of it.
Right.
When they
should have been like a music cue or something.
Something like a little bit more to let that process.
Yeah,
that was my thing at the top when they they start playing the music and they zoom in on Layla and they zoom in on Spock.
That's fun.
And I forgot that they'd had a past because I didn't understand why they were connecting them that quickly. I was like, I thought she just fell in love with him then, but I forgot that they had the past.
Yeah.
So
it was almost like a proto Riker Troy, except they didn't actually have a relationship.
yeah.
That's immediately where my mind went. I'm like Imzadi, but it wasn't Imzadi.
Yeah, but I ended up liking that relationship more than or being affected by it more than I thought I would. But that said, I wish it could have been stronger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was kind of on it.
Yeah.
Especially because she did not. I was thinking this as the episode ended. She didn't seem like the type of girl Spock would ever go for. But then we acknowledged she was affected by the spores, so we didn't see her in her best light and her science self. Although he didn't realize that something was off with her right away, which he should have.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I think the episode leaves it to us, and I went ahead and filled in the blanks of the relationship because it doesn't give us a lot of that. And sometimes that's okay for him to say some parameters and you fill in the blanks, but again, in this one I felt like it would have been nice to know that she was a really good scientist.
Yeah.
That would explain, it would make more sense than...
Like, it would be good if Spock was like, I know who we need to help us fix the situation.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's get Layla.
Yeah. Then
that whole scene means something.
Because
that would have fixed this episode.
As it is, it's just a girl with a crush on him, which is still an emotional thing. And, you know, if it happened during their college days or whatever, would have been their start.
Yeah, they could have dropped a scene earlier where they found her lab before they were affected.
Yeah.
And saw that she had been working on it, not realized what it was.
That would have been in them.
And, oh man, that episode would have been so much better.
Yeah. I wish, because their relationship up until they break up didn't affect me. You know, it just seemed like a woman pulling Spock into a cult.
That's why the breakup to me didn't feel completely earned.
I think I was interjecting.
Yeah.
And I thought she played it. I thought, he's a better man than me.
Yeah.
I would not have been able to she would have worn me down with those tears. But
what was your alternate episode?
The Spock stand-up comedy. Let me tell you something else about women. Not only did
they don't answer direct questions.
He would have been let me tell you the difference between men and women. It's like, oh, great.
Men go like this, women go like this.
That's great.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Men are logical.
Then later in his career, he would have been on Vulcan.
On Vulcanian.
He'd have been the Yakov Smirnoff.
Yes. They were starting to call them Vulcans this episode, where we've noticed the last couple have called them Vulcanians.
Yeah.
Well, they said Vulcanian at least twice, I think, in this episode. And Kirk
also
said Vulcan.
Okay. So they're starting to figure out what Spock's people are called.
You know,
I like that they asked about his first name.
Well, they
didn't say first or surname.
Another name.
And he was like, yep, but you can't pronounce it.
It's, I was going to say, the Vulcanian thing. I keep thinking about it. It's like, actually, that makes more sense. If they're from Vulcan, to be called Vulcanians.
Because we're not called Earth.
Yeah.
Earths?
Yeah.
No, in Star Trek, in a lot of sci-fi, we're like Terrans.
Yeah.
Because we're from the planet Terra.
Right. Surely in Guardians of the Galaxy.
Right. Spock's full name is Sachon-Tgai Spock. According to sci-fi.stackexchange.com, but the official Star Trek database only lists him as Spock. So, canon-wise, it's just Spock, but apparently there's a novel that establishes a first and middle name, and that's Spock's his last name, which doesn't entirely make sense to me unless that family name comes first in Vulcanian.
Well, they've been calling Mr. Spock, so...
Right, but his father's Sarek. His father's not Sarek Spock.
Oh, yes, well...
And I'm glad they kind of answered it, but why she kept calling him Mr. Spock, because I thought the same thing, like... And then I thought, well, maybe that was a thing if they were together in Starfleet or somewhere that's just what they called him. So she just called him... That's what she called him. It was a term of affection or whatever.
Well, it could be they adopt anglicized names for the purpose of interacting with humans as well.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Well, yeah, that's true. Because Vulcans were the first contact humans had, so they've been interacting for a couple hundred years at this point. As we learned from the movie First Contact, where we saw the first contact. That movie title kind of hit the nose around the head there.
They did, yeah. They wanted you to know what you're
Good
getting
movie.
into.
I enjoyed that movie very much. We'll talk
So
about
that wasn't Borg? I'm trying to remember what was that.
The Borg were in it, yes.
All right.
But we also saw the first contact at the end of Humans and Vulcans.
Ah.
The first warp drive engine, Zephram Cochrane, all that.
Well, it's been a long time since I've seen that one.
Oh, that's great. It's the best Next Generation films, for sure. Any other notes?
I don't think I had anything else this side of paradise. Just since you guys kept saying it.
Oh, we did. We made that joke way too much.
I didn't care for Kirk's speech at the end about, we walked out of paradise this time. Or whatever he said.
A little too forced for the speechification.
Yeah, I didn't like that one. That was not one of my...
Or it felt so much better than the prior episode for some reason.
Yeah, it did.
Women.
Jill Ireland is beautiful.
Gonna go for Layla?
I think I'm going to stick with
You're gonna stick with Tamala?
Tamala. Yeah,
Whatever.
I think so.
Yeah, Jill Ireland did knock off for me. Keith?
By default, I'm abstaining, so yes. Tamala.
Do you like one of the blondes on the bridge?
Meh.
Well, there weren't any new Asian women in this episode for Keith.
There were not. There, even in the big lineup to get on the
Yeah,
train.
no, I didn't see the Asian women.
I like that they were all in a big long line.
We're gonna patiently wait our turn.
They weren't taking anything with them, which I guess made sense. They weren't going to need anything.
It's a cult. They didn't need it.
That's right.
No possessions.
Because Spock already had new clothes for him that fit him perfectly right away.
But McCoy didn't change into him. Very uneven.
He didn't even get in his short sleeve shirt.
Yeah, I guess Spock was first, so they had extra clothes for him. But then when the whole crew came down, they're like, "Oh, we don't have enough."
You're on
clothes."
your own.
Yeah, makes sense.
You're gonna have to grow something. You're having to grow some cotton to make some clothes.
Yeah, and why the colonies split into 3 colonies? Because they said they were about disease and stuff. But like, if they're affected by the spores, they're not gonna mess with all that.
Right.
So I felt like it was more just an excuse to not have to show as many extras.
Exactly.
Also, if you're gonna form a colony, you need enough breeding stock to populate, and 45 is not gonna do it for you.
Yeah.
Even 150 is kind of.
It seemed poorly planned.
Yeah, very poorly planned. They're probably just hoping we're gonna get settled, and then people come hang out.
Maybe that's what it was. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, where are we gonna put this episode? Above the cage, right?
Maybe. Well, what's below the cage? I mean, far below the cage.
Should we start at the bottom or the middle? Bottom.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Better than tomorrow is yesterday.
Yes.
For sure.
Yes.
I'd say it's better than Charlie.
Yeah, I would too.
Mud's Women.
Yeah. It's getting harder
better
now.
Than Mud's Women?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. What are little girls made of?
Is that no? I'm thinking of Miri.
Andrea.
Mary's a couple above this. I think at least the story and what are little girls made of makes more sense.
Yeah.
So I would put it below that.
It's a little more interesting because to me, the only interesting things of this are the character elements and
there's not much.
Yeah,
it's
just those few moments.
What do you think?
I don't think I would have cared nearly as much if it hadn't been for the screensaver, honestly. It's hard for me to separate that. Like,
That
oh my
after
god, it's a thing.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Between What Are Little Girls and Mud's Women?
It's probably around there.
I think we bump it above Mud's Women just because it's less sexist.
Yeah.
I mean, Mud's Women, we love... I mean, I enjoy Harry
It's
Potter
a fun
great deal.
episode, yeah.
But that story made me so uncomfortable watching it now through a modern lens.
And we get Mud back, right or not?
One more time. And then once in the animated series.
Oh,
too.
it's I Mud. That's right.
And then soon in Star Trek Discovery.
That's right. Yeah, that was cool. I still like the character of Mud.
I just
I like him in that episode. I like him in Mud's Woman.
In Star Trek Into Darkness, they reference Mud. They mention a female named Mud that may have been his daughter or something. They're like, oh, the Mud incident, like Kirk mentions it in passing.
Huh.
So there's a Mud reference in the new movies that they have encountered Mud or some member of his family.
It would be fun. I still like the Mud character.
I'm not
I wouldn't want
sold on Rainn Wilson yet.
I'm curious to see what he does.
I mean, Rainn Wilson's a talented actor.
Yeah.
But he's so different from Roger C. Carmel.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll see.
Yeah, I feel like it'll be a different take.
I think it'll be
still
fun.
might be one I like.
I'm sorry, I was just going to say, I think it'll be fun for me to see the reboots. after I've seen the original series now, finally, for things like that I didn't.
I'm really looking forward to Discovery because by setting it 10 years prior to the series, you can bring in elements from the series. We know Spock's father, Sarek's going to be in it. We know Harry Mudd's going to be in it. I feel like we think maybe not number 1 is going to be in it from the cage. So this will be an interesting take.
Captain is Pike?
They have not said anything about Pike. But number 1, there's a character named number 1, and a lot of people, myself included, are assuming it's that number 1. If it's 10 years before where nobody has gone before, 10 years before where nobody has gone before, it's about 3 years after the cage.
Right.
So she may be done serving under Pike and have moved on.
Oh, that's true.
I don't know. Anyway.
What's next week? Or
next
episode, I should say?
Next episode, which will be next week for our podcast.
This is true.
It will definitely be next week for us, too, because we do all these live, right?
I forgot about that, yeah.
Yeah. You could call in right now and talk to us.
Caller, go ahead with your question.
Hi, long-time listener, first-time caller.
Hi, welcome to the show.
In episode 55, Spock's ears were a little bit shorter than in episode 54.
Yep.
Could you please explain that?
He got a cold.
Oh, okay. Okay, thank you.
It was a Vulcan cold. That's what happens when Vulcans get cold.
They're ear shrivel?
Yeah. Yep. Call back anytime.
Okay, thanks.
But not right now.
I thought they were going to do the Get a Lifeline from up there.
Get a life. Shatter.
Yeah.
Next up is Devil in the Dark.
Oh, okay. That's good.
Where the Enterprise is sent to a mining colony that's being terrorized by a mysterious monster.
I remember that one being very good.
Backstage story to that, too.
Oh,
Behind the scenes story. That I find very interesting.
All right.
Then after that, we'll have Aaron of Mercy with the Klingons back.
Oh, okay.
Then the Alternative Factor. And then City on the Edge of Forever.
Yes. All right.
That's the one we're looking for.
A couple good ones coming up.
Yeah. I think Aaron of Mercy was pretty good. Devil in the Dark was pretty good.
Yeah. I don't remember Alternative Factor, which is probably a good reason.
Oh. Yeah, I didn't like that. I don't remember liking that at all.
I remember there were some interesting things, but...
we get City on the Edge of Forever. That'll get us through.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, have a good week. We'll see you sometime.
Bye.
In a week. Exactly.